Okay, good morning. So here we are. So continuing with Baal Shem Tov al Torah with Amud Hatefillah. So we read the piece that's labeled Chaf Aleph. And at this point we're going to read about 5 small pieces. Each one is really building on this idea about how the letters themselves are the building blocks of the world. The osios, that Hashem created the world out of letters, out of the holy Aleph Beis, and then each letter is a building block towards the world. So we'll read a little bit inside, and then we'll discuss in more depth. So there's Amar Adoni Avi Sikuni, it's referring to the Baal Shem Tov, Biso Tachtim Shnim Ushlishim. When the pasuk says that there was a basement, right, a first floor, a second floor, and a third floor, literally building, right, a building that was built one floor after the next. Ubeperush, and when he said, what does this mean? Tzohar tasa teva. How do you make a tzohar for the teva? That the light, that the words should be with a chiyus, with light, just like it says it was the first floor, second floor, third floor. Levakesh osios, to request of the letters themselves. Hainu misod or ha'elokus, from the sod of the light of Hashem. Asher besocham ulevakesh misham, meaning that Hashem's light is consists within these letters, meaning these building blocks, these letters that comes from the Asar Ma'amaros, that Hashem created the world with 10 utterances, and He created the world mamish through these letters. So when we say letters, when we say words, what we're doing is we're connecting to the source in which Hashem created the world. We're connecting to the way in which Hashem hid Himself in these letters, and we are connecting to those letters, to Hashem through those letters. Now, what does this mean? Ubetocha osios yimshal chiyus. Now we're reading in the Perush, in the commentary below, and inside of these letters, yimshal chiyus milamala. You will drag down chiyus, godly, invigorating yourself with godly light, milamala. So as you imagine, this goes into a little bit of a meditation that we spoke about previously, that as you imagine a certain word, you're saying the word Baruch. So you're imagining each letter, and you're imagining the Beis. So you're taking this letter which was brought down to this world through the tzimtzum of Hashem creating the world, and you're taking those letters and you're bringing them back up. Now, you need to have some level of comfort with visualization to do this, but you imagine the word Baruch, and then you imagine each letter of the word vividly in your mind's eye, and then you imagine first taking the word up into Shemayim. Actually, imagine taking the word Baruch and elevating that word. That's what it says. Yimshol chiyas milamala. And you're bringing these osios, these letters, to their root. And your soul will go up with this. Okay, now what this means is when we're saying the letters, we're not just mumbling through them, but we're saying them in a way that's heartfelt, that we understand them, and then we're actually taking, with a visualization, taking each letter and elevating it to its shoresh, to its original source, before it was brought down in the world, before Hashem brought it down in this world to create the world. And now the Mor Enayim, the holy Chernobyler, says, Noda Sefer Yetzirah, so it's brought down in the Sefer Yetzirah, Kia Osios Nikraim Avonim. The letters are called rocks, stones, Shebehem Bonim Olamos, that with them, what do? We build worlds. Just like you build a teva, so too Hashem built a world. Sha'al kain nikrim talmidei chachamim bonim she'oiskim b'bniyaso shel olam. And that's why we call people who are osek in Torah, people who spend their time learning Torah, we refer to them as builders. Why are they called builders? Because they are quite literally building the world. They are partnering with Hashem in building up the world. Don't call the Jewish people your children. Call them, in addition to your children, your builders. Now, what's the difference between a child and a builder? Banayach versus bonayach. A child doesn't do. Well, they can do, but a child doesn't have to do to be a child. A child is a reality, meaning you are a child to your parents, regardless of how you act towards them. You are biologically their child. So we are spiritually Hashem's children. regardless of what we do. Ben kach u ben kach nikram banim. Whether we do the best things in the world and we keep Torah mitzvahs with the best way possible, or, God forbid, a Jew is living in a way that's completely far and distanced from Hashem. But guess what? Ben kach or ben kach, you're called children. You're called a ben. So what does it mean to say, Al tikrei banaich ela bonaich? Banaich is taking, once you acknowledge the relationship that is an unbreaking connection to Hashem, that every single one of us has an unbreakable relationship, unbreakable connection to Hashem, regardless of what you do. What you do does not define what you are. Then comes in the point of saying, so how do I become bonayach, a builder? That gives you the chiyus, that gives you the confidence and the desire to be a builder. Once you acknowledge that you are a son and you are a daughter, that you have a relationship that will never break and can never be broken, you go from the idea of bonayach to bonayach. And then a bonayach says, what do I do with this information? Not that it just stays intellectual or academic, okay, great, I have a relationship with God that can never get broken, but rather you take that information, that we have an unbreakable relationship with Hashem, and we put it into poel, we put it into action. What is that action? Being bonayach, being a builder. We've spoken about last class, we spoke about the idea of Avram Avinu, not being the first ma'amin, not being the first believer, but the first partner. The first person who looked at his relationship to Hashem and said, it's not about what I can receive, right? A small child is about what they receive from the parents. Rather, an adult child becomes a builder. What does that mean? Say, what can I give? What can I do? How can I partner? How can I be a member of this family that is a partner in this family and not just a receiver in this family? Al tikri bonayach ela bonayach. It's true, not al tikri, that you don't get called a son anymore. Forever and forever, a Jew is always a child of Hashem, regardless of what they do. However, once you take that information, don't just sit with it and do nothing with it. Take that information that you are a son or you are a daughter, and take that and become then a builder. Become then a partner with Hashem. Be'osios hahem shemedabrim ba'orin oilamos. And with the words that we say, we are building worlds. Kinoda ayadei shenistabkim al pnimius or ein sof shebe'osios. That through connecting to the or ein sof, the infinite godly light that is inside each of the osios, we are then partnering with Hashem in the way He created the world, which was through osios. So we take these osios and we say, Hashem, I acknowledge that you made the world through these letters, through these aleph bays, and now I formulated them into words. But now I'm taking them, and as your partner, I'm being ma'alin and nitzaitzis that you drop down here, and I'm bringing them back up to you. I'm bringing them back up to their shayrish lamala. Okay, let's keep going. So lavakesh mina oisius mamish. So he says, when I say to be mavakesh mina oisius, I don't mean it in a analogy. I mean mamish. Lavakesh min ha-osios mamish. Actually speak to the osios. Actually ask from them. Ukamosha shamati perusho min adonia avizikini. So he says, like we heard from the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, perush min sod elokasha behem. From the source of Hashem that is within them. Sheya'azor lahem lidaber ha'osios bekavanos emes lishma. That we say to the letters, Hashem sefasai tiftachu piyagiti lasecha. Hashem, open up my mouth and give me the ability to say, to speak. Just learned this morning from the Irin Kadishin, the Holy Rishner, who takes from the pasuk of Matovo Alecha Yaakov, right? That Rashi says that the openings of the tents were facing different directions. Now, what does it mean the openings of the tents were facing different directions? Say this was an idea of not looking into someone else's tent, focusing on yourself, focusing on your own avoda. Not focusing on what are they doing over there and what are they doing over there, but this fundamental teaching of I'm looking only at myself. I'm not looking at what others are doing improperly. But the Rishner says that it uses the word, Rashi uses the word, the openings. They were looking at from their own openings, meaning we have the teaching that if we open ourselves to tshuva, we open ourselves to want more of a relationship to Hashem, into our world of consciousness, the opening like the eye of a needle, Hashem will open it like the opening of the world. Meaning, all we have to do is one baby step. All we do is one little baby step, and then Hashem opens it the rest of the way. Now this is the idea of what? Sheya'azor lahem ledaber ha'osios bekavana emes lishma. That all we do is we come and we say, Hashem, please, through these letters, that you hid yourself in, that you also revealed yourself in, that you constructed and built the world through, allow me to express myself through them. Hashem sefasai tiftach. I'm opening myself up like the eye of a needle. Upi agiti lasecha. And then my mouth is just going to run. Then everything's just going to come flowing out. And through this, we're matakein any din. Why? Because any din that comes here, if we bring it back to its shoresh, it's kulo chesed. So what we do is when we take the words and we are bring them back to their shoresh, then we're mamtik all dinim. Okay. Shamati ma'adoni avi zikni ki osios bli perish. Now he says, what does it mean, the osios bli perish? Just the words. There was once a story, someone came to Rav Nachman and said, what kavanah should I have by this place? What kavanah should I have by that place? And he said simply, the kavanah should be had is to express yourself with honesty and realness to Hashem. Express yourself with openness, honesty, and realness to Hashem. That's what it means. So, osios bli perish. That there is a place, and there's a place for certain tzaddikim to go deep, deep into different kavanahs. And here we think this, and here we say that. There's a place for that. There's a time for that, and there is a place for that. And for some tzaddikim, that is the proper mode of prayer. But for many of us, what is the kavanah, ikar kavanah we should have? That I just want to be vulnerable and real. That I want to express myself from a place of realness and vulnerability. Ha'osios b'li perish. This reminds me of the story where the Baal Shem Tov met with who would be blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And he gave him kavanas on kavanas on kavanas, so many kavanas to have in mind when he blew the shofar. And he wrote it all down on this piece of paper. Now, shortly before blowing the shofar, the man looks for the paper. The tzaddik, who I don't remember who it was, looks for this paper, and he can't find it. And he knows he's about to blow shofar. And with just complete brokenness and humility, he says, Hashem, the Baal Shem Tov gave me all of these kavanas, and I don't know them. I don't have them. I wrote them down, and I don't have them anymore. If anybody's ever gotten up to speak, and they have their notes, usually, even if they don't look at them, knowing they have their notes in their pockets, it sometimes gives you a security blanket. But this tzaddik looks, and he says, Hashem, I don't know what to say. I don't know what kavanas to have. The only kavanah I'm going to have is just with complete brokenness that I don't have the kavanas. And then afterwards, as soon as he finished blowing the shofar with tears going down his face, he came to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, Rebbe, I'm so sorry. I really wanted to do it with the kavanas you gave me, but I couldn't find the paper. And the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says, who do you think took away that paper from you? Why do you think you don't have that paper? I took it away. Completely confused, the chassid asks, why would you do that? And he says, the ikar kavanah is to daven with a broken heart, with an open heart. And I knew that's something that can't be taught. That's something that can only be experienced. Let's keep reading a little bit from the Rebbe from Zhytomyr. It says, Yesh b'nei Adam shekasher oiskim ba'avodah zu tefillah hem nagdim dibra tefillah. So he gives a whole idea of saying that sometimes we come in with a preconceived idea that we have to daven with this tune in this place, and if the chazan doesn't do that tune and the chazan does a tune I don't like, then I don't have a good Kabbalah Shabbos, and why did he choose that tune and not this tune, and the minhag is to do it with this tune, and so on and so forth. And the Rebbe from Zhytomyr just says, just take it easy. Just take it easy. We shouldn't come in with so many different ideas of exactly how the davening should look, but rather, how should the davening look? Like we just said, Kia oisius bli perish, of just expressing yourself with vulnerability and realness. Now, one more story. There was a tzaddik of the Karliner. Now, the minhag in Karlin was that you express yourself with mamish, just with everything. With every bit of your being. It's wild. So now he found himself in Kotsk, and he wanted to daven for the Amud. I think he might have had Yahrzeit. Now the Kotzker said, in Kotsk we don't daven with yelling. We daven very quietly with introspection. We don't daven with yells. Now the Karliner said, okay, I'm in Kotsk. I'm going to do what the Kotzker said. I can follow the rules. So the whole davening up until a certain point, he was okay. He was doing it with the proper Kotzk Mahalach. Then he got up to Shema, and he couldn't help it. It just came out. A yell just came out. And they went this way through the end of davening. Now afterwards, with a lot of embarrassment, he came to the Kotzk and he said, Rebbe, I'm sorry. I tried to follow the rules. It just came out of me. This yell just came out. It wasn't planned. So he said in Kotzk, a yell that just comes out is very welcome. A yell because your father yells and your brother yells and your neighbor yells. Those are the yells we don't accept in Kotzk. But a yell because how could I not yell? It just came out of me. Those are the yells in Kotzk that we love. Meaning, tefillah shouldn't come from a place, in this place we do this niggin, in that place we do that niggin. There's a place for that. There is something to it. But real tefillah comes from a place of authenticity, of just vulnerability and realness from a place within you. So Shamati ki kol teva nichnal mikol ha'olam. Now it says that every teva contains the whole world. That as we're saying one word, to realize we're also saying everything. Daki kol teva hu kol mashlema v'tzarich lios kol kochoba. And you need to put everything into these words. Ki im lav tia kamo mechuser ever. It's as if you're missing a limb, meaning that every single word contains a crucial aspect, not just for that individual tefillah, but for the sustenance of the world. And it would be as if the world and yourself are missing a limb if it's not expressed in that way. So to recap a little bit, we said the words are the building blocks of the world. That Hashem created the words, created the world out of words. I just wanted to read, there's a Gemara in Brachos that says about B'Tzalel. It says that B'Tzalel knew how to join the letters. It says, Haya Yodea B'Tzalel Tzaref Osios Shenevra'u Behem Shemayim Va'aretz. B'Tzalel knew how to join these letters. It says that B'Tzalel had Chachma. What was the Chachma? That he knew how to put these letters together to create the world, just like Hashem did. Ksiv Hachav Yemali Oso Ruach Elokim. That he was filled with the Ruach of Hashem. B'Chachma B'Svuno B'Das. And then it also says, Hashem b'chachma yasar aretz konein shamayim b'svuna b'da'ato tohomos nikvo. It uses a similar language to say that Hashem created the world out of chachma and svuna, and he uses that same lashon to express that B'Tzalel understood b'chachma, svuna, and das. That the world was created out of letters. Okay, Hashem should bless us. We should realize that in every single letter that we say in davening, again, the meditation that we learned today was to take that letter, to see it in your mind's eye, and then to elevate it up to its shoresh lamala, to its source above, to imagine actually the letter rising from this world here up into Shemayim, to actually imagine that. And the simplest kavanah we can have and should have is a kavanah of, I'm here to express myself to Hashem. Okay?